Don't miss your chance to win big every week on The Zone. This week on Win Tickets Wednesday, you can win tickets to The Offspring and the Supercharged Worldwide and 25 Tour, September 6th at the Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater. The Offspring with special guest Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. We're joined once again by David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz. David, good morning.
Friday morning with talent that is fully developed, not in a youth movement, but rather on the backside of a career of excellence. The masters of the morning, looking as good as they possibly could for their old age. And absolutely the contrast of where the Utah Jazz are right now with young potential developing talent. This is potential fully developed at its most excellent. PJ and PK, great to see you this morning.
Great to see you, David. Let's get you a layup right out of the gate. Get you an easy bucket to get you started.
All right.
Which Jazz rookie have you been most impressed with?
Ace Bailey's got it all. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a question of maturity. It's going to be a question of work ethic. It's going to be a question of how the millions of dollars affect him. It's going to be all those same things that every other 18-year-old that's ever embarked on this crazy world. But this kid's got it all. He's got it all. It is awesome. So we'll see. There's no, I think you and I had this conversation about probably now 3 weeks ago where I was like, I don't get the narrative around Ace Bailey that he was like this risk-reward pick. I saw no risk at all. I still see no risk at all. Your worst-case scenario is a 6'9" NBA body that can shoot. That's going to survive every time. But your best case is, oh, my goodness.
How about some handlers that maybe could derail him? What's the concern there?
Yeah,
You've
I don't
already
know.
answered it.
But I don't know, because actually here's my pause. My pause was, do handlers – I was trying to actually figure out whether the premise is true. Right? So, DeJounte Murray slid to 29th in the NBA draft or whatever it was because the people around him were supposedly bad, and one of them got arrested while DeJounte was, in the back of the car or something, some crazy story. I don't know. But that's why he slid to 29. That's factual. Hasn't derailed his career, really. So I was actually pausing on the premise. John Morant's what came to mind. Are his handlers the reason? And is that derailing his career? Probably a little. So, but that's pretty extreme, right? That means literally you have a guy in your car taking a laser thing and pointing it through a team bus to the other side. That's pretty craziness.
Sure, but there was some noise leading up to it.
Yeah, that's advising. Yeah, so yes, that's all of the things that have happened. More often than not, honestly, what I've seen in this league is parents. So, in Seattle, I watched parents destroy careers much more than handlers.
Oh, I would include them in the list.
Okay, so this is the same thing that every 18-year-old's ever entered the league with. How do the people around you, parents, usually the case more than anyone else, deal with the fact that their child now has $5 million? And that's another 5 coming the next year. And another 5 coming the next year. And 80 coming after that. And what happens? Yeah. And how does the kid deal with that? It's not natural, right? I think I've said this on the show before. My kids are the exact same age, basically, as Walker Kessler and Keontae George. Both Walker Kessler and Keontae George are going to make $100 million. If I had a chance to give my kid 100 lives, I wouldn't give either of my kids their Walker Kessler or Keontae George's life, even with what they could do with $100 million. I think it's unnatural development. I think it stunts growth, and I think it leaves them with 50 years at the end of their life with no idea what to do, which is a whole hell of a long time.
I do think
60 years.
I think it's a little bit hastened now because they're getting that money in college.
Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I hadn't thought about that.
Not the $50 million, but they're getting some. They're getting substantial amounts of money relative to their peers in
that's super
college.
Interesting. And wait, build on that, PK. What's your thought on how that will impact their entry into the NBA?
Yeah, that's real interesting because we had that down in Texas this past week. There's a kid named Carlos Allen, and I want you to remember that name. He plays a defensive line for the Houston Cougars, and he sat down and he started telling us. I was there with Alex Curry and Hans Olsen, and I guarantee you they can verify this. And if DJ, you were listening,
I was listening. You should go back and listen to this interview, David. You're going to find it fascinating. The kid was, when he started breaking down how he was investing his money and why, and he wondered how the 17 and 18-year-olds, what they were thinking and what they were doing, and he was worried for them. He sounded like such an old man, but you wanted to hug him. He had such perspective. He was so grounded. It was unreal. It was a great interview.
Send me the link if you don't mind.
And he's a little older, being an upperclassman, but he was talking about commercial real estate and how he doesn't intend to touch any of this money minimum 10 years from now. And I was just blown away with what he was saying and the wisdom. And he talked about a friend that he had a relationship with who was telling him about commercial real estate. Man, you got to get into it, and you've got the money, and you got to do it now. And it was just fascinating to me to listen to him speak, and somebody got to him, and he listened, and that kid, I don't know he'll play it down in the NFL, I don't care, but I guarantee you in 15, 20 years from now, as much as you can guarantee something that can't be guaranteed, that kid is going to have a great life.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and that, I think any of us who've raised kids, anything you can do to get your kid a great life is more important than anything else. So that's pretty cool. That's great to hear. I think it's, we had a jazz player many years back who was so bothered. I mean, it can go both ways, right? So this person was so bothered by the amount of money they were making and not doing anything. They weren't playing at the time. That they weren't cashing their checks because they were embarrassed because their checks were basically as much money as their parents made every year.
Sure.
And so they were like, and they hadn't done anything. They were sitting on the end of the bench, and it was like, no, you got to cash your checks. Like, we got to get you on direct deposit. Like, you got to, no, you got to, if you don't want to touch this money, that's fine. If you want to do something with it, it's fine. But, embarrassed that his two hardworking parents who had normal jobs making $50,000, $60,000 a year, and here his checks were $50,000 and $60,000 a year. A month. Or, excuse me, a week, every 2 weeks.
Yeah, every paycheck.
Yeah. And so, I mean, so the Ace Bailey, this isn't unique to Ace Bailey, and I think we have to be really careful. It's not unique to race. It's not unique to socioeconomic background. It's life. 18, I don't want to reveal all our stuff, but I'm dealing with a 20-year-old who's driving me bonkers right now. And it's a miracle I didn't swear right there. I mean,
and to be clear, you're not talking about a jazz player right
miracles
now.
Happen.
No, right. I can't handle it. I was up at 1:30 in the morning last night, walking around the house because my brain's going crazy with frustration. So it's that's just life. That's what 20-year-olds do. But most 20-year-olds don't have $5 million. And most 20-year-olds don't have to play with 20,000 people booing or cheering them and don't have to have social media commenting on them. It's really hard. So what is Ace Bailey going to become? I have no idea. But he's 6'9". He's 210. He's got a 7'1" wingspan. He's got an 8'11" standing reach. He's got a soft jumper. He can dribble enough to get to whatever spot he wants to on the floor, it seems. He can rise up in a jumper that nobody can stop. He plays right now with relentless energy. When he jumps, he's 5 inches taller than everybody else on the floor. He's incredible.
Yeah, I liked the simple rebound he got off a free throw miss. And he was not on the inside. He was 2 spots removed. And it was a simple play. But I just thought, wow, that's just enormous athletic ability.
My favorite play of the entire 2 days is he's running to the corner, and I say to Ron on our broadcast, wow, this has got to be really weird for Ace Bailey right now. He's just running to the corner, and he's not touching the ball in possessions. He's never done this in his life. Every possession he's ever been a part of has been a part of getting him the ball. And we swing the ball to the left side of the floor, and he's in the corner. It's the third straight possession he's not going to touch. We miss. He flies in from the right corner, grabs the rebound on the left side of the rim, has the athleticism to come down, collect himself, change direction, one dribble, back up and dunk. I was like, oh,
Now,
that's awesome.
having said all that, though, isn't the pressure really on Knipple at this point? Because Edgecombe, who went as the third pick, well, he looked awesome. I mean, you didn't take a lot of brain power sitting there in the stands at the Huntsman Center to figure out why Philly would want VJ Edgecombe. That was pretty clear pretty quickly.
Yeah, that was Donovan Mitchell, Dame Lillard, Summer League right there.
So we can look back and say Charlotte blew it at 4.
Charlotte may have blown it at 4 if Ace Bailey becomes an all-star.
Yeah.
But purple Lamborghini, baby. Didn't we talk about this last week? Or was that with Scotty?
I think that was with Scotty.
So the one thing, and this is Charlotte's problem, you can do whatever you want. They've had a weird offseason. If you kind of look at all the players they've brought in and who they are and what they're like is some weird common threads. You can do everything you want to try to have a good culture, but as long as LaMelo Ball is on your team, and arriving in a purple Lamborghini, and then I think on other days arriving in a teal Lamborghini, that's going to be the dominant culture of your team. And maybe if you had concerns about all the things we just talked about with an 18-year-old, that's not the place to put him. And you can decide what you think of Brandon Miller and hiding a gun and whether that was legit or not at Alabama, but he was involved in that. And you can't decide what you think of what Miles Bridges did because that's really clearly defined as horrific.
Yeah.
So that's not a great environment. If those are your 3 dominant personalities in a purple Lamborghinis rolling in every day in Charlotte, they may have sided away trying to find, and for whatever reason they believed Con Knipple was more stable than Ace Bailey. Whether they're right or not, I have no idea. And whether that's true or not, I have no idea.
Yeah, it might have been something with the composition of their team, which I think you should never do. I think you should always draft the best player available.
100%. Like, if Ace Bailey is, I mean, I don't want to get stupid here, but, I know who I think Ace Bailey is if it all comes together. It's awesome. And he would be better than all 3 of those players, so you draft Ace Bailey.
So give us ceiling and floor so that you're not completely out of your tree. You can give the floor also. Ceiling and floor for Ace Bailey.
I mean, the ceiling's Tracy McGrady. He's 6'8", 215, and can get wherever he wants to on the floor with the dribble if he can figure it out. And if he can make shots. That's pretty unlikely. That's a 7-time All-Star and a Hall of Famer, so let's not get too excited.
Too late.
Floor is a 6'9" kid who can shoot. He plays a lot. That's pretty good. I don't know who it is, but who's a 6'9" athlete that's in the NBA that can shoot? I mean, also, by the way, he really does have a lot of similarities to Jason Tatum. Body-wise, size.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably more athletic, less basketball IQ at that stage. At least that's what somebody who knows both of them very well told me. Who's 6'9" and can just shoot 38% and plays 25 minutes a night in the NBA? There's 100 of them, right?
Yeah, right.
Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, there's 100 of them.
See what he did there? That was good.
That was pretty good. Yeah, I was still yeah, right. I don't know who that is, but there's 100 of them. There's I guess floor is that everything goes wrong, right? That you get involved with the wrong people, you get involved with substances, you lose it, right? That's the floor. But that's every kid's floor. That's not Ace Bailey's floor. That's every kid's floor.
Yeah, Roy Tarpley.
So, right. There's the floor. But every kid's at risk of that. So, I think from a basketball standpoint, this was my point during the draft. I can't really find, you're 6'9" and you can shoot. You play 30 minutes a night in the NBA. You're Brandon Miller at that point. Who may be all right. Your floor is Jabari Smith. Okay, great. He's better he's more athletic. His body. The other one that jumped out to me, the other one I would say, and I'm not a scout, and this sounds so super scouty, and I really try to avoid this because I have such respect for the guys that actually do this for a living, and I don't want to sound like I know what I'm talking about. But the other one that actually was most impressive to me was when he was bringing the ball up the floor, pressure, and he was able to get low with his whole body on the dribble. Like, his body just moves correctly. Like, if you think about Jabari Smith doesn't quite move right. Actually, I thought Nikola Topic for Oklahoma City was good, but his body doesn't move correctly. Like, it's kind of got a weird gait to it and thickness, and it's just not very limber. Like, Ace Bailey was getting low and crossing over in a way that 6'9" guys usually can't get that low.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
And that means you have a flexibility and a, like, that separates you. Like, Jabari Smith does not have that, so therefore he has a very hard time dribbling because he's 6'9", and then the dribble's always high. Lowry doesn't actually have that. That's why Lowry struggles, because his dribble's always so high. So there's so much time in his dribble that someone can come get it.
I'm not surprised, but I was disappointed that the Jazz couldn't get more for the veteran guys that they unloaded. And I knew that was the market, so I certainly wasn't surprised.
I think that's a fair way to say it. I think they probably were too. I think that on paper, you look at the year that Colin Sexton had, the year that John Collins had, you certainly didn't think you were giving a second away to get off of Colin. Clarkson's been through 7 different trade windows, and they couldn't get anything for him in any of the 7. That was the least. And he doesn't match a good team. Like, he's not the kind of player you add a team. I don't quite understand what he'll do in New York, but we'll see. In the sense that he's not particularly efficient with his possessions, and he's going to need a lot of it. If the team's already good, then they probably don't need someone to come take possessions. John Collins. I mean, here's the funny one on John Collins. And I don't entirely understand this, because John Collins is pretty good.
Right.
But so the Jazz actually got more value for John Collins than they paid for him. And they got almost nothing.
Right.
But if you remember, the Jazz got John Collins for Rudy Gay, who retired, and a second-round draft pick that's next year that may never convey. It's kind of like a fake second. And they actually got an actual second-round draft pick this time. How John Collins, who was a 50, 40, 85 last year, has become valueless in the NBA is utterly beyond me.
Yeah.
So doesn't it just come down to most teams are up against the second apron and the size of his contract?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. But that trumps all the good stuff that you were just laying out. In an era when you need to be able to shoot the ball, and he shot it so well, but the contract, the second apron, boom, it's the business.
Yeah, I think if there's anything that took place, but I've been trying to find it, like, this sounds really good until you actually then try to go find the date where you could have done this. So the question is, did the Jazz misread player value and what was going to happen with the second apron, and so they held on to John Collins and Colin Sexton too long, and their value went down because of the impact of the new collective bargaining agreement?
I see where you're going. The answer is no on John Collins, because he didn't shoot it well until this year, at which point it was already too late. But on Sexton, it would have been the moment they gave him the contract. That was the misread.
Maybe, yeah. And the other one on Collins, you got to remember, is he was coming off playing 4 games, so he was really untradeable for the first year.
But could you move him at $12 million when you can't move him at 18? It's that kind of question.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Or you just should have let him walk, because contracts are less important than they've ever been. I mean, as Austin said in his opening press conference, the two things that are changing are expiring contracts aren't worth what they used to be, and teams are going to are no longer just handing out contracts to their players anymore. They're going to have to watch the dollar figures on those contracts.
Yep. David, we got to run. We appreciate it as always.
The interesting one, by the way, the interesting one on the John Collins, Norman Powell trade, two really good players traded for very little, both free agents, both teams deciding that the expiring contract isn't worth anything anymore.
There it is. The bottom line is the bottom line.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you, David.
You guys are awesome. You are fully developed talent. You were not bothered at 22 years old by the tens of thousands of dollars you had flowing in.
I made $210 on my first newspaper job.
I was going to say it was the tens of tens that were flowing in. It wasn't the tens of thousands.
6 months later, I got a raise to $215 a week.
I guess I was making $250 a week. Santa Barbara real estate. That went a long way. Thank you, David. We'll talk to you later. DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. Pablo Mastroeni. Coming up next. Stay with us.
This is Jake Scott and Ben Anderson.
I don't think those players ever had the value that they were hoping. Yeah, it's like sitting on a piece of memorabilia.
You can't hold on to your Zach Wilson number 2 overall draft pick card too long, or it doesn't become worth anything. You got to know when to flip it. That is the job of the front office. Your job is to acquire assets that either help you on the court or help you off the court. And I don't know if John Collins did either. And
yeah, but it's not a big mistake.
No, it's not. The Jazz still accomplished their goal last season. They had the worst record in the NBA. They fell to 5, but that wasn't John Collins' fault. That was a matter of lottery balls. The Jazz hoped John Collins would turn into something different. And even though he played well on the court, he still didn't yield any returns. That's your job. Again, as a front office member, is to predict what the market's going to be. And I think the Jazz mispredicted what the market would be. A, for John, and B, what type of contracts would have value going forward, which is why you had to pay to get off of Collin and why you didn't get anything back for John Collins other than a second-round pick.
Hear Jake Scott and Ben Anderson every day from 10 to noon on 97.5 The KSL Sports Zone.
Join Hans and Scotty today from noon to 3 at Mooyah Burgers, Fries and Shakes at the District in South Jordan. It's your new favorite burger place. DJ, PK, and RSL head coach Pablo Mastroeni joining us. Pablo, good morning.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. Pablo, making moves. Nelson Palacios been loaned out, and I can't help but think that opens an international spot. Does that have anything to do with what may or may not be happening in the transfer window? And if I ask Pablo about it, does he want to comment on it? Well, does Pablo?
Well, I think the most important thing, again, I think we when we're any player situation is going to be dealt with as an individual, and I think Nelson has been with us for a couple of years, was gaining some traction. It's an area in the field that we have quite a few players with, like Pablo Ruiz, Mecca, and Brian Ojeda, and an opportunity came, and it was something that he wanted to pursue, and we as a club felt like it was a good opportunity for him to continue to get good minutes to foster his growth. And so it all aligned, and I think, as far as, the transfer window, like I said, I think it's an area I think we're solid and we have some good depth and some good competition in amongst that. Pablo Ruiz has been playing now consistently, and I think with every game continues to show glimpses of himself before he was injured and suffered a couple knee injuries. And then we got Mecca coming back on the mend, and we just got Ojeda back from, being in Paraguay for a month with his visa situation. So, I think it's an area where we can continue to push the guys to compete the right way, and I feel we're solid in that area.
With the situation with Luna playing for the national team, I was just reading up on the national team, trying to get more familiar with it and educate myself. And I came across a review, essentially, of his game. And this was a couple of weeks ago, but I saved it, and I was waiting for the opportunity to talk to you. So I'll just read what I screenshotted. It says, the best thing about Diego Luna standing out is that he's complete opposite of how the standard American soccer players play. American players, for the most part, are one-dimensional robots with a mid-first touch. Luna is an unpredictable street bowler with a flair. I thought, wow, that's pretty dramatic, and I wanted to get your take on it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a pretty interesting take, and as a matter of fact, the way I'd label Luna is kind of a throwback number 10. So a little bit like a Messi, a little bit like Diego Maradona, where they're guys that, colored outside the line, so to speak, right? And I think when Luna first got here, he had all that in spades, and it was a wonderful thing because I think it's really hard to defend Luna. You don't know what he's going to do. And now with the national team, he's even added more variety to his game. But I think as defenses go, if it's he's just a guy that stays positional, it's kind of easy. Luna kind of is an artist in the way he approaches the attack, where he finds gaps, and sometimes from a team structure perspective, he breaks it. But within breaking that, he creates an overload, and we score a goal, and then you're like, hats off, kid, great stuff. And then when it doesn't work, then you're talking more about being more positional, and I think that's the beauty of Diego Luna. I think the reason as well from a national team perspective and what I've seen and what I've seen him kind of develop over the last couple of years is a willingness to work when he doesn't have the ball. Typically these players, back in the day were just one-way players. But the amount of graft he commits to winning the ball back, and so like when he's not running, he's definitely engaged, and you'll see his arms going up and down and helping his team defend. And I think this is like the X factor for Diego Luna, where you got a guy that can change the game. He's unpredictable in the attack. He plays with a ton of flair, but he's also working for the team. And I think it was a bit of a long road for him, but I think now he is the complete package on both sides of the ball, and I think that's why a guy like Mauricio Pochettino can count on a player like Diego Luna heading towards the 2026 World Cup.
I played freshman basketball for the Thunderbird Chiefs, and I sucked. But I want to see if this is what you're talking about. I can remember all these years later, and we had a coach who had played football for ASU and tried out for the Bears and didn't make it. And, man, he was a psycho. He once chased me. I popped off. I had a little bit of sarcasm in me, as you may imagine. And one time I popped off, and he chased me with the ball. And I literally ran out those doors into, where the common area was, where the lunch area was, right there outside the gym. Yeah. And I'm running out the door, and he chucks the ball at me. But this wasn't the memory. The memory was he puts me in the game, right? And I go and I jack up a shot. And I was young and I weighed like 120 pounds. So I literally shot from the hip. And so I shoot the ball and I could hear him, no. And it goes in. Good shot. Is that what you're saying about Luna?
That's right. That's exactly what I'm saying is we have our game plans and then it's these guys. And that's why these kind of players make the difference, right? We had some Chicho and Andres Gomez last year that were kind of the same, cut from the same ilk, which was they play outside the game model, and the onus is on everyone else to do their jobs and play their roles to give these type of players the freedom to express themselves. Because I think the worst thing you can do for a player like Diego Luna is put him in a box, because then it takes away his creativity and his flair. And so, like your coach in high school, it's the same thing. It's like, don't know. Yes, way to go. Let's go.
And PK is describing hallways because for those of you who don't know, these two guys went to the same high school, Thunderbird High, 10 or 15 years apart, but nonetheless, they hung out at the same Jack in the Box. And
the campus was the campus.
There it is. Exactly.
That's right.
I know there's some people wondering how Diego will handle success anytime young athletes have success. We all wonder that. We haven't wondered that since our very last segment, talking with David Locke about how young people will handle success and money. But I think there are no guarantees. I think Luna's better positioned because he was basically told in San Jose, you're not good enough. We don't believe in you. And he had to go to El Paso and find a team. I mean, not only did he go to the USL, he didn't really go to one of the glamour destinations. He didn't go to Las Vegas. He went to El Paso. And so Then a lot of people thought he was going to make the Olympic team. I think he might have thought he was going to make the Olympic team, and then he didn't make the Olympic team. So he knows that not everyone believes in him, no matter what he does. And he also knows that it can all be taken away from him, even though it shouldn't be. Now, nobody likes going through the hard times in life because they suck. But we all do it, and it makes you who you are. And I'm thinking you have a lot of confidence in his willingness to keep putting in the work because of those two life experiences. Am I right?
That's a great point, DJ. You are absolutely correct. I think Diego Luna is a player that plays with a chip on his shoulder, and I think the standards that he holds himself to in training, and I know you were out there yesterday or the day before, and it doesn't matter that he's been with the national team. He's got this underlying humility that doesn't allow him to ever take anything for granted. And I think, like you rightly said, I think when you've experienced a lot of hardship and adversity and you've overcome, you operate from this space. It can be taken real quickly. And it's really interesting because, lately I've been really contemplating life's paradox, and about what you just said is I remember when I was coaching in Colorado and we were going through a tough time. And I said to the guys, I asked, who believes that going through tough times and overcoming adversity strengthens your character and your resolve as both a human being and a player? And everyone raised their hands, and so I was like, right. And so I said, how many of us went to bed last night hoping and praying for adversity tomorrow? And I was like, it's just so bizarre. It's so bizarre because we all know in order to grow and evolve, we need these times. But it feels so terrible. And all we want is like happiness. And we want fuzzy feelings every day. And we want, run into people that make us smile and all these different things. And we hate the one thing that will drive us to become better people and better players. And so there's no answer to it. It's just another one of these life paradoxes that just scramble my brain. And again, a lot like golf, right? We talked about it. You want the ball to go up, hit it down. What are you talking about? So I'm still, struggling through all these paradoxes, but the truths are the truths, and hard times are character defining moments. And I think Luna's been through enough, and I think he's going to be fantastic tomorrow with the group. And again, it's so easy to come from these camps, especially when you were the face of the camp, and just walk in and stick your chest out and all these things. But he's been so humble, such a great teammate. And, I'm looking forward to seeing that chip on his shoulder and that flair tomorrow against Houston.
Yeah, after the game, after they lost to Mexico, I was listening to Lawless, and he sort of criticized, well, he definitely criticized him. Maybe even you can go to the point of ripping, although I wouldn't take it that far, where he said that, this is the guy, it's his team. Basically, he did not come through. And I thought, wow, that's pretty harsh for a youngster. But then I'm thinking, well, that's the standard that this youngster has set. So in a way, Lawless is actually complimenting him rather than ripping him.
That's a great point. No, you're absolutely right. And I think that's what comes with the territory, right? Like, if it's going to be praises when things are good, you're obviously going to take some knocks when things aren't going well. But I think, it's hard to remember that he's only 21 years old.
Right.
He's a young player, and these moments in these games are. I guarantee you, the next opportunity he has in one of these big games, he's gonna approach it differently. And the only reason he can approach it differently is because he's already had the experience. And so, no two games are ever the same. And the amount of pressure on one game is going to be different than the other, especially, when everyone starts talking about how good you are as an individual and more importantly, how you guys are doing as a team, and the expectations are higher. So when it doesn't turn out the way you want, obviously there's going to be a bit of criticism. But I think, again, the one thing about Luna is that he is a learner. He is a student of the game. And I'd make a big bet that the next time he gets that opportunity, he's going to be able to affect the game in a different way than he did this last game.
Houston's coming off. They're your opponent Saturday night. Houston just beat San Diego 4-3, which is really impressive. It was in San Diego. San Diego's in first place, so that's a great win for Houston. Now, they did give up 3 goals. So I went back and looked. They lost 3-1 to Minnesota. They lost 3-1 to Kansas City. They played to a 3-3 draw with San Jose. They lost to Austin 3-1. And I'm just going back over the last 7-8 games here. The Austin game was Open Cup. Why are they giving up so many goals, and is there something in there that your team is set up to exploit that other teams have been exploiting?
Yeah, I think they're in a transition as far as adjusting their back line. So they have a couple new players in there that weren't there when we played them last. And I think anytime you have that and you're trying to build chemistry, you're always susceptible to moments where there's a bit of, a disjointed defending. But I would say typically over the course of the last few years, they've been a really solid defensive team. So I think it's just a matter of getting these guys up to speed and becoming that team. But, I think for us, and the other thing too, DJ, it's just the MLS, right? Like before we played DC, who were struggling, they went out to Cincinnati and beat the top team top 2 team in the East at the time. And so like anything can happen. And this is one of these leagues where you just can't take anything for granted, regardless of what your previous result was. And that's why we're so process-oriented and focused on, we won last game. It doesn't matter. These are the areas we need to continue to get better at. And I think the moment you take your foot off your gas, your teams have enough firepower in this league to score 3 goals and sometimes overwhelm defenses. So the onus is on us really to be really sharp in the attack and finish our chances as we did last week, but more importantly, be solid in the back and in particular clean up our defensive set pieces.
Pablo, we appreciate the time as always. I'm glad we worked in some Thunderbird High references. I know that makes you feel good, and we will see you Saturday.
Go Chiefs. All right, guys.
All right, there you go. Pablo Mastroeni, RSL head coach, joining us once again. I could feel him enjoying the description of the high school grounds.
Yeah.
And flashing back to the
I didn't
Jack in the
intend
Box.
to do that, but I wanted to
did.
set the scene for this psycho
Oh, he got
coach.
it. No, I got it. I could feel it in his answer. I talked to him enough. Yeah. And he loves the Jack in the Box references. He laughs. He goes, they were good times. They were stupid good times. You're idiot teenagers, but there's just nothing better than going down there and grabbing a burger or some fries or whatever. And
It was Jack in the Box.
yeah.
It was a taco.
It was a taco at Jack in the Box?
That's what I got at Jack in the Box.
Oh, really?
You can get the burger and fries,
Yeah.
but I got the tacos.
Oh, okay. All right.
I like the Jack in the Box tacos for some reason.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. More Big 12 football on the way. Yes, there is some indecision. There's a lot of teams at the top, but a lot of people think there's a couple teams getting separated at the top. We'll get to that next. Stay with us.
Accessing.
This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G.
Legendary longtime Utah Jazz assistant Phil Johnson, kind enough to join us. Frank Layden has been so valuable and so important to the scene of the sport world here in the state of Utah, not just the Jazz. But can people really, truly appreciate just how important he was in those early years?
I learned so much because it was a completely different approach to the game and approach to coaching. And what he was is he was very demanding, but he was very honest and he was very straightforward, particularly with his staff and also with the players. People just don't realize how good he was because they saw the personality stuff, but they didn't see him coaching a basketball team. There has never been a guy like Frank, and there never will be. He's unique.
Catch Hans and Scotty weekdays from noon to 3 on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Business people, man, I'm calling you. I'm calling you out for a good reason. You want to make some more money? I want to endorse your product, man. Please let me do it. And I think we can make beautiful music together. How about that? If you're passionate about your product and you want me to endorse it, here's what you do. Text PK to 57500. 57500. Just text PK to 57500. Our sales staff will be in touch, and you and I will get together and make you some money. Does that sound good? Oh, I think it sounds great.
Do it. All right, PK, we were talking Big 12 football earlier this morning. Who should be the favorite? Are you comfortable with the fact that while most people acknowledge, depending on who they are, at least 5, maybe 6 or 7 teams could win the title? Now, people may not agree exactly on who, but most people will list 5 or 6, 7 teams, even if they don't list the exact same. Somebody might have BYU in it. Somebody else might have BYU out because, they're not going to have Retzlaff and they don't understand exactly what the quarterback position is going to look like.
Bachmeier.
Could be, right?
Bachmeier.
But so some people think it's going to be a true freshman. Like, hey, they could be good, but they're not going to win the conference.
Bachmeier.
Okay, don't do that. Now you just feel like you're hawking up a loogie.
Yeah, how many more times can you say Bachmeier?
Oh,
all season.
How long have you been here?
3 years.
Are you new to the show, Hatch?
No, I just was having some fun.
We got a new producer.
All 3 years. I got 3 years.
Don't do that. People in the car are like, no, now we're never going to get to the point. PK's just going to be.
I understand your point, though.
But when I'm going through one place after another, and it's ASU or Kansas State one, and it's the other one too, and they'll go on and write about, hey, Baylor and Texas Tech, and so it's not like they're ruling it out. And just because you say someone's 3 or 4, it makes it sound like they're a long way away. And we could have another 3 or 4 way tie. Who's to say? Right? There were only 4 teams that made it through conference play unbeaten last year, and only one of them got to 9-0. That was Oregon. The other teams are playing in leagues where you play 7 or 8 league games.
Yes, I think there's a number of teams, but I also think that isn't necessarily a doomsdayer for getting 2 teams in the playoff, and a lot of people were thinking that. That was a feeling I got coming out of Texas on Wednesday night, driving to the airport. But I think that there's a chance that there could be a team or 2 that really take off. And for whatever reason, doesn't mean necessarily that they're heads and shoulders better than everybody. It's just they made a couple of plays more. And that's such a big difference. Bronco Mendenhall always talked about that football on many games comes down to a handful of plays, and which way those plays went determined who wins the game. That's how narrow the margin could be. But I do think that there's an opportunity for a couple teams to stand out and maybe get 2 teams in the playoff. There very well could be, because there's enough talent with these returning quarterbacks. And we went into it and we were talking about this, and I noticed that I think it was Thamel down there at Big 12 Media's did a story on ESPN.com about, so it's the national people talking about it too, which gives you a little more credibility, not the blowhards, the writers. And my people, and this conference does have a lot of quarterbacks who are good and can get hot and really get on a roll. We saw that before they were in the conference, the teams that we follow with TCU. They got on a roll that season. Were they that much better than everybody else? I'm not so sure, but, man, they just got on a roll, and it happened. And I think that's what's important. And it could happen to your team. It could happen to BYU. It could happen to Utah. They could get on a roll. Dampier, they may not know how to defend him, and he just may be too electric for everybody, because there's not really a quarterback in this league like him that can do so much and create so much havoc, as Majerus used to pronounce it.
Nice.
And so running around like that with your head cut off and getting your first downs and everything, it could blow up, man. Maybe he's just not good enough of a passer. And he's a great athlete, but quarterbacking isn't necessarily about being the greatest athlete. It's about precision passing, and there's going to be games where you're going to lead your team. Like, talk about Rocco Beck. What did he have, 4 game-winning drives on the last possession of the game? And Sam Leavitt, the Devils were down with under 2 minutes to go against Kansas, and they got to go a good 70, 80 yards, and they do? And that's largely going to be through the air, right? And he leads them, and they score the winning touchdown, I think, with 16 seconds to go. That's how narrow that game was. And that's a Kansas team that beat the other 3 teams that finished tied for first. So it's a crazy league. But I look for a team or 2 to really break out. And who's that team going to be? Yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
DJ and PK, when we come back, David Locke dropped one provocative name. The ceiling for Ace Bailey is...
Oh, my gosh.
The minds of Jazz fans, hopefully better than this guy. We will get to that.
I don't know about that.
I know you don't. We'll get to that next. Stay with us right here on The Zone.